our next matchup of today. First, I will once again explain again the formalities of today. Again, with the playoffs, single elimination, all of these trials, no more second chances. Again, very different from what we've seen in our previous seasons, since before we used to always have double elimination brackets in the playoffs, meaning if you lose once, you get a chance of coming back after having won the lower bracket, and only then will you be put into the grand finals as well. However, this time, again, we are not entertaining the thought of having a lower bracket. However, we do have an alternative for you, because one best of 5 between these teams, not even a best of 7 or best of 9, really suffices. So instead, having a one-off matchup in one day, we will be having these teams play against one another across 2 days, across this entire weekend. Today is the interlude, the first matchup between these two teams. And the next matchup, potentially matchups, coming tomorrow. Because the way it works is we are having best of 3 of best of 5s. I know that sounds difficult to just hear bluntly, so I'm going to break it down for you, everybody. Today, our streams, again, are best of 5s, and whoever wins this best of 5 wins a matchup point. Whoever collects 2 matchup points in best of 3 fashion claims ultimate victory, and it only then advances to the grand finals. We've just seen Invictus pull ahead. They are currently standing 1-0, not 3-0 as the best of 5 on its own would suggest. It's 1-0, and tomorrow will be the continuation. And we are yet to see our other 2 contestants of the playoffs, being Ariandel, our Russian super team, and Elysium. Xeno on captain, the team that has recently formed also for Season 10. Well, most of these teams are formed explicitly before Season 10. And Elysium with, the roster that we're looking at. We've got Xeno on killer as captain, and we've got all of the Survivor players mainly from the before disbanded Eternum. So we're going to see also Obi, Oscar, Pedro, and so many other faces. Right, we've got more formalities to talk over, but now that we're already in the team card, I can also already introduce my fellow analysts on the desk that might also have more to add for Elysium. Again, Flightless is not our only person switching sides. We've now got Zach, whom I will be pulling directly from the casting booth into the talk show now. So please go ahead and introduce yourself once more.
Hello, everyone. Of course, I've just been casting the Invictus Knockout matchup, but now I'm on the analyst desk with my good friend Mathis and MetalBro. But Elysium, I mean, like, yes. This team for me, they had a bit of a shaky start, I feel like, going into the league season, mainly because they were sort of part of a merger. It was a merger between Elysium and Calamity. And so, like, 2 different teams with potentially different playstyles. I think that they were finding their feet a little bit as a team starting us out. But they finished that league season 7-1-1, so they only lost once. So I think that's quite impressive, and they've definitely they found their strengths. And I mean, just looking at those team cards just a second ago, Obi and Xeno both above 10 stages as an average, which is just insane, and it kind of highlights their strong killer side at least.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredible. We've had Toby all this time collecting our stats. Unfortunately, he's not casting this weekend or joining us on the talk show, but he definitely will be for the grand finals next week once we get to that point. So I hope that I can make this promise without having to break it, because obviously we haven't even discussed the schedule for that yet. Who will be taking over casting those matches, since they are very far in the future still. But I can imagine Toby's going to be there. Yeah, that's Zach, thank you very much for joining me. And we've also got one more person, of course, that I need to introduce, who hasn't had the chance to get a word in today, but I'm glad he's joining us today for the second matchup as well. It is my privilege to introduce MetalBro. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling incredible, honestly, Mathis. I'm really excited for tonight's matchup, that being Elysium versus Ariandel. We had a banger matchup with Invictus versus Nokron. It was a lot of fun to watch, and thank you to everyone who was here before I got on the desk. It was amazingly done, and now we have our sights set on Elysium versus Ariandel. Very excited to see this matchup, Mathis.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only second that. Elysium and Ariandel. You know, we have had our doubts when Invictus and Nokron came in because we did see that 3-0 before. However, with Ariandel and Elysium, if we want to go back in time and we're looking at that league match that matchup that they played, we saw a 2-0, meaning there was one tie. And personally, it is really difficult to me whom we should put above the other team. You know, Zach, you've got your word in on Ariandus, and we've already seen their stats before, so let us also now take a quick look at what Ariandel have to offer on the other side with their extremely large roster. And yeah, please take it away.
Well, for Ariandel, I think that they were in like 4th place, so you know, compared to the other teams that we've seen today, they were a little bit lower, but they're still a very strong Bubbo. I know we were talking about like killer variety, and we've got Elysium on Xeno and Obi, but Bubbo is aside from Fallen Art probably the main killer for the whole team. So there's a lot riding on his shoulders. He is of course, you know, a very experienced killer main with a lot of history. I mean, look at Fallen Art's hook stages on Nurse. I mean, 10.8 average, pretty like standard for Nurse anyway. But yeah, like as a team across the board, I think that they're very consistent. They had a few bad days during the league season, but overall, I think that they are a very, very strong team. And this matchup itself, I honestly don't know where it's going to go. Like, I could honestly predict to you right now that we're going to see a Game 7. And this is just in their first matchup. Of course, Invictus were very strong in their last game. But this, I just can't, like, if I was to give any team the edge, I feel like the killer spread across Xeno and Obi, where they're more focused, I think might give Elysium the edge. But I honestly, I couldn't be. That's more of like a 60-40. I don't know if you'll agree with me when I say that.
I can completely understand where you're coming from. We make this exact case for Nokron and Invictus before, and we've almost got the perfect transition, the perfect juxtaposition with now this matchup, because before, again, we had Zaka, who takes responsibility for all of the killers, and on the other hand, with Invictus, we have Nightlight and Pedro splitting them evenly. Here we've got a very similar scenario with, again, Bubbo practically taking every single killer, even though they also have iPick on the roster, and we've seen Swatter play Unknown throughout the league, throughout the season. And then on the other hand, again, we have our dedicated split between Xeno and Obi. So I wonder how that's going to translate. With Ariandel, well, one addition I also need to make, as you pointed out, Fallen Art's name as well, absolutely deserves his spot in his position in the spotlight as well, his moment. He is the dedicated nurse main for Ariandel. And I can, well, since I know all of these players practically personally, I can speak on the history of the Russian community when it comes to nurse. So they've always had, you know, there's not many regional differences with what specific killers are preferred, what are the meta killers really. But what I can say, however, Eastern Europe really doesn't like nurse. They don't like playing her, they don't like playing against her, they don't like practicing her. It's one of those killers that they just struggle to get behind for the longest time. However, that changed with Fallen Art. Fallen Art has been maining this killer for years. He's probably got a dedicated 5,000 to 10,000 hours on this killer alone. She's the only killer he plays, and to my mind, he's arguably the best player in the world, only rivaled by, again, Nightlight currently, most likely. So, it's understandable that Nurse is not in the picks here. Elysium, I'm not totally sure, because I can imagine that Elysium would have taken the blunder as well. Difficult to say, because the one thing I also need to point out, we've seen Fallen Art so many times this season, but that is absolutely not because Ariandel want to play this killer. It's again because of what I pointed out. The history, people see, oh yeah, Nurse, Russian team, or Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian team, probably not the greatest, so we pick it every time. And then call an ambulance, but not for me kind of moment. And that's probably why Elysium also left Nurse open, didn't ban it. We're expecting Ariandel to maybe pick it. But yeah, didn't work out because, again, Xeno also just absolutely incredible on Nurse. So yeah, Ariandel is not the Nurse team, but it's always the team that Nurse was forced on. It's very important to point out, and that is why Ariandel don't pick Nurse on their own. But yeah, we've already been talking about the killers thus far, so before I want to talk about the killers that were picked for today, we need to also go, again, a trip down memory lane during the season between Ariandel and Elysium. So that 2-0 that I mentioned, the killers we had for this matchup were Nurse, Dredge, Artist, and Freddy. And Freddy was never played because, again, it ended after 3 sets since Ariandel won 2-0. We did have Nurse, we did have Dredge, and we did have Artist. And Nurse was also won by Ariandel. So that might also be why Elysium didn't pick her again there. I don't see Dredge, I don't see Artist, however, which I find pretty interesting. I do see Freddy, however. So, MetalBro, what do you think with Freddy coming in here? We've seen Bobo play the killer so many times, he really loves the killer. What do you think? What can we expect here?
You know, I'm pretty excited to see this Freddy match, honestly. We haven't gotten a chance to see Bubbo too much recently on Freddy, so I'm very excited to see this happen.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like we've got a seriously banger matchup with all these different sets tonight. I'm very excited for the Hillbilly as well. A very chaotic set, and if you've been watching my casting, you know that I love chaos. And these Hillbilly sets tend to get very quick, very intense, very fast into the match. I mean, there's just all sorts of bouncing around the map and, you know, patrolling generators, getting downs, flicks, etc. It's just like everything that a Blight set is, and honestly, even more, which I just love. So I'm really excited to see this Hillbilly set. But we've got a couple of wrenches in the cogs here tonight, Mathis. We have a Deathslinger set, which I am personally very excited for. And then following that, we have a Wraith set on Midwich, which I'm even more excited for. And I'm hoping that we reach the tiebreaker because I would love to see that.
Yeah, we do need to get that far, first of all, because it would be the 5th set, and most of you have already watched our previous matchup. That ended quite quickly, quicker than we anticipated at first. But yeah, you know, we're already talking about this now with regards to predictions. It's difficult with Ariandel and Elysium. I will say I'm thinking 3-1 Ariandel still. But that's a very difficult call to make. I think they slightly have the edge. What do you think, Zach?
I may have overlooked one detail when I was talking about my prediction before, and that is actually that the roster of Elysium have a returning player.
Yes,
I think everyone in stream, at least have been watching Kong for a while, is going to be very surprised to see. I don't know. Should we reveal it or should we just kind of leave it as a surprise? I don't really know, but
I would prefer the latter, honestly.
Same, yeah.
You don't want revealing it?
No, keep it as a surprise.
No, keep it a secret.
Yes,
keep it a secret. Okay,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, but we're not going to tell you who it is. I think that you should really wait until we loaded because this is really exciting. But with that, of course, this is a player that actually hasn't been around. So kind of from that angle, I may actually just give it to Ariandel, basically because their full roster, their main roster, is playing, and they've been a bit more
you need to tread lightly.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like
I think Ariandel would win because of this player.
Okay, I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm gonna say that I feel like the killer performance on Elysium is gonna be a bit more solid, and give it to Elysium. I think it's gonna be a game 7 though. I think I'm gonna give it to Elysium 4-3.
It's really difficult. 4-3, you think? It's a best of 5, mate.
That's what 3-2, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm not okay.
Unless you really want to see 50 ties, but that's also not going to be. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, both of these teams will advance to the grand finals.
My mind's kind of on last week too, because it was best of 7 during the.
Yeah, all good.
My bad.
MetalBro, what do you think? What's your prediction of tonight?
Oh man, I'm just gonna say this, and I think that you guys can agree with this. Predictions are difficult when Elysium's involved, because Elysium, the way that they play these matchups is so unpredictable sometimes. But you know, I've got to say, I've got a lot of faith in Ariandel at the moment, given the last Oracle v Ariandel matchup that we saw. They seemed very, very confident. So I'm really feeling like the edge of Ariandel's high after that matchup win. So you know, I'm very excited to see how this goes down. But honestly, either team has a very solid chance of taking the match point.
It's really difficult to say, as you said. Yeah, I'm glad I have someone to agree with me. However, Zach, you will be banned immediately for rooting against my team here.
I've got to play
yeah.
devil's advocate. It's
You gotta play devil.
That's how it's
You
gonna
need
work.
one.
You know?
Yeah, you need one Mephistopheles every once in a while. Need someone to deny all the claims you've got. But yeah, hopefully you've got some literature enthusiasts in our audience, but I'm very sure we definitely have a few. But yeah, absolutely wonderful. Difficult to say, but yeah, you know, MetalBro, you've already covered the killer picks for today. Zach, do you have a personal favorite out of all the ones? And please don't say Plague, because that's the only killer we've already seen today.
I was gonna say Hillbilly. Because Zeno is in this game. That is kind of a killer that he kind of defined a meta really for that killer. Like from his playstyle alone, his insane like aggressive playstyle of slugging and just going over the map, like forcing a no mither meta onto that killer. Like I honestly feel like it's something that like everyone should be excited for when we see Zeno on Billy. He is like the 4v1 killer of all time, but especially on Billy. Like it's something like that he is known for, and now that we've got it in this matchup, like he's got a chance to shine, and so I'm excited to see what he's going to do on that. Maybe aside from the Billy, if we do see it, like I do also enjoy Wraith sets because of how much like intricacy there is on the Survivor like team play as well.
Yeah, all of our questions will be answered very soon, as we are already, or finally now, loading in to set number 1. Took a bit longer because of, obviously, the previous matchup ended in a 3-0 very quickly. But yeah, we are now going into, finally, the first game between Elysium and Ariandel. The only reoccurring killer today, another Plague set, and we will be seeing, however, how differently Bobo and probably Obi will respectively execute the survivors using this killer. So I will be handing it over straight to our casters. So please, Flightless, take it away.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first set of Ariandel vs. Elysium. We have Bubo on the Plague, starting at a main building with a very interesting build, Edgar. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, interesting indeed. Hello everyone, glad to be back for the playoffs in such a big name matchup as this one. Caller Brian recently got that little buff to 150% regression, and we have been seeing it into the meta a little bit more. However, it doesn't really seem like there's going to be anything different from the Survivor playbook. They're going to stealth as long as humanly possible. Delaying the first infection against the Plague is absolutely everything. Bobo's going to try and lock down every single generator. Survivor's going to try their best to work around it. Zeno's been found out early. He's going to try and just avoid the puke as long as possible. The issue with Plague is the moment that anyone gets hit with the infection, it just becomes like a slow collapse, and Zeno's going to be the first of those domino pieces to fall. Let's see if the others are going to go down with him. Bobo is happy with that infection, but isn't actually going to return back to those generators, is going to instead try to commit to Zeno. I kind of agree with this. It's a relatively early infection to get, but Zeno is going to break the man's ankle, put him down on his face, and is going to be able to make a little bit more distance.
Yeah, Zeno was able to get found super early, unfortunately, when he was trying to cross the top side, but he had that pallet, which, according to Zeno, is now a god pallet with the way he played that. And something I want to point out here. Now, I'm seeing Zeno on Ace, Oscar on Jake, Marco on Fang, but who is that on Renato there? That is the GOAT himself, Laser. Oh yes. My god, he's finally back.
Yeah, the Season X has been a big deal. Hopefully I'm actually hearable now. That'd be pretty good for everyone, wouldn't it? But yeah, no, all the old heads are coming out of retirement, it seems, for Season X. It's a very big deal. Is Laser going to be able to walk the walk? That has yet to be seen. Regardless, Laser's actually eating up an infection, so did end up getting that. So Xeno did end up transferring that over somehow. Bubbo has utilized the power, the Corrupt Purge in the corner. Pretty good spot for it. Xeno greeting the pallet, which is a, very aggressive thing to do, but it's going to work out for a little while longer before eventually Bubbo's going to get that first down, coming in at the, I want to say 228 mark. So it's good work for a first down. Generators are still rather slow, but it in a weird way, it almost relieves a bit of pressure once there are some infections going, because the idea is like you delay the first infection for as long as you can, but the moment that anyone does get infected, you can't just throw caution to the wind and it's like, screw it, we're all getting infected now.
Yeah, well, unless you have Thana, which Bubo does have. Now,
Yes.
Marco's game plan is to try to delay his infection and injury for as long as possible, because right now, Thana is doing some work, but not that much. But then as soon as you get that fourth stack, that's a minus 20% progression speed on totems and on gens, which is very, very, very big. And Bubo has a pretty decent 3-gen bottom side around Shack. It's not like there's 2 gens very close to each other, and then there's one very far. Oh, and Marco already getting the save. Now this is going to be 4 infected very soon. And Xeno does make it out of basement. That's very good for Elysium. That is very good.
Yes, it's good being able to get out of the basement. Everyone's injured now, so as you mentioned, the last stack of Thanatophobia going to be the most important one. Call of Brian still part that interests me, not because it's bad or anything, and Marco didn't. There's a wall in front of you, little brother.
Yeah, Marco decided to kick his router. He was giving it a little nudge. Unfortunately, he got stuck on the wall. Well, now
certainly one way to go down, and the problem is Marco's back in basement, so you're able to get like one save from basement just to get someone else put immediately back in basement. And I have a feeling that Bubba was, I don't know, maybe a bit kind to let that first basement hook go so easily the first time. I don't think he's going to be quite as forgiving the second time round. Xeno, however, denying the Thanatophobia and thinking on another level here. The idea is like you generally want to avoid cleansing against the plague, or at least if you're going to cleanse, do it in like a really out of the way area. Because of the threat of that final sack of Thanatophobia, that almost induces survivors to just, cleanse so they don't get the slowdown. But then that's an awful trade-off, because then they give the plague the power much quicker. Xeno is going to suffer the effects of that very, very soon, already getting infected up. And there you can see it, taking a chase right next to a corrupted pool. It's not going to take Bobo any time at all, isn't going to have to stop this chase in the slightest here. And Xeno, despite being an absolute lunatic, is not going to have a particularly good time in this chase.
Oh, yeah, especially going down right there. And they get the save right as
the Corrupt Purge.
Oh, this is already looking very bad for Elysium. And now he picks Jake and Marco's in the back of basement. Thankfully he gets out on time. Oh, this is still this is not looking good for Elysium right now, but it was looking so much worse.
Yeah, at the very least you're able to get him out of basement, but again, everyone's injured. Yes, so everyone's injured. The work that you did to get rid of Thanatophobia going to be completely worthless. I'm going to say the gen pressure was surprisingly good in the background. 3 generators done despite all of this pressure, despite Bubbo getting now 2 basement hooks just together. Yeah, I'm actually very surprised as far as we're able to complete 3 generators. Unfortunately, don't think it's going to be enough, and I'd be very surprised if they're able to get any more.
Yeah, I'm expecting maybe 1 more gen out of here, because this one on mid-map is a bit further out of his 3-gen, and if Bubo goes to pressure that one, he gives up 2 basement hooks. So Bubo's not leaving this area. So they should at least get 1 more. Unless Xeno can, I don't know, somehow get guys on boot out. Which might actually be happening since he is going in basement and getting these pulls. This is not looking very good. And now they have full fan up.
That is a disgusting multi-hit. That's absolutely gross right there. And you can just see the amount of like status effects on screen is ridiculous. You know, someone's infected, someone's down, someone's deep wounded, everyone's injured. They turn in different shades of green, red, orange, purple, whatever color Bubbo wants to make them is just going to be doing it right here. This has been rather dominant. And remember that 4Ks are not particularly common on the Plague. They only happen a quarter of the time, let alone a 4K2. Like, at least if you're gonna 4K, make it 4K1 or something. But Bubbo has set a spectacular win condition. 4K1. Okay, well, a little more in line with what we would hope. So I was obviously playing for their win con here. But that's still not great. If we're being honest, you really want outs against a Plague, and you're kind of expected to get outs as well.
Yeah, the only issue is that if this is Xeno on the Plague, it could be Obi, but I think it's going to be Xeno. Then Ariandel still have a chance to lose this because 4K1, while it's not very common, is very doable on Plague because she's one of those killers that like she can just make something out of nothing because the survivors are just injured all the time. And if they continue to cleanse and get rid of Thana, then they will eventually just give her power for free. So now Laser's going to go down and try to trade this so that he can at least keep them in 3v1 for a little bit longer.
I believe Oscar's just working a gen like over on like the way other side of the map. So
yeah, last we saw he was.
Yeah, so despite everything I've said, I'd be interested to check back on that gen now, because surely it's like nearly done at this point.
It should be about 50.
Of the ways there. Yeah, it's way more than 50 actually.
Oh,
okay. They're going to get all the gens done. Is this, I mean, this is kind of the issue where Suffocation Pit is like one where you can control a 3-gen pretty well. But Bubbo, by playing...
Bubbo knows.
Oh,
yeah,
no. Ooh, never mind.
And now this is going to get Call of Brine, so it's going to regress at 150% speed for 70 seconds, and it's got an eruption. So if anyone goes down to this power, this gen is now cooked.
Yeah. And it turns out that despite Bubbo not even actively trying to control a 3-gen, there's a 3-gen on this side of the map anyway. Yes, obviously there's one which is a little more progressed than the others, maybe a smidge closer to allowing some outs here for survivors, but like it's a very good position to be in. Your power is effectively kind of acting as a zoning tool, as weird as that sounds. It means like you cannot safely work on any of these generators because you will get sniped, and you know that Bubbo's good for it as well. Xeno's had to cleanse up to try and just make something. In a situation like this, even though you don't love cleansing against a Plague, you kind of need one survivor to be like the designated healthy one, just to take some amount of aggro, just to try and protect the others.
Yeah, especially since Xeno is death hook. So as soon as Xeno goes down, and Bubo hooks, they're in a 2v1, and that is very bad because a 3v1, like, this is possible if they can somehow hold a really good chase and play the super slow and outrun Bubo's gen kick event limit, then they can actually out this somehow. But they need all 3 survivors to do it. And if Xeno being death hook means that if he goes down, they're no longer in the 3v1, which means that they probably will be 4K1.
I see. So a game of DBD chess is what we're looking for the survivors to play. I understand you, Mr. Flightless. Unfortunately, it seems there's only one game that Bubbo is interested in playing, and that's more DBD, especially in the grand finals of Season X, which, looking at a performance like this, is looking like that's increasingly more likely. Oscar going to go down here, and that is a big struggle for survivors. This does give Xeno and Laser an opportunity on this generator, but they can't even do it because Bubbo's just going to hook right next to it. Obviously, the eruption propped on that, as you said earlier. Oscar, not quite dead yet. Still in, not gone yet, but definitely leaving soon.
Yeah, now they have no other gen progress on the other 2 gens, which there is one like quite far, but it's in a complete dead zone. And like the one gen that's been progressed is now right next to a hook, which means Bubo doesn't have to leave this gen at all, and it's regressing. So this is like it was looking pretty decent for Elysium based off of Xeno's first chase. Then they kind of started just giving up hooks into basement too quickly and too freely, and now they're in a position where like they actually have this gen next to Shaq about 50%, but that means Xeno's going to have to save, and he's Death Hook.
Yeah, and you can see that Xeno just isn't willing to trade, but you're in a lose-lose situation, right? Laser sure as hell ain't going for that unhook anytime soon. Oscar will die here, and Xeno's on Death Hook. So what are the options? Xeno trades here and dies, or you let Oscar die, or you get Laser to run over, but then give up the gen, and it just wouldn't work in time. There's honestly, I genuinely think, as odd as that sounds, that is the most time that you could have possibly gotten there. You try and pick up the last second, you just make every single millisecond count. Unfortunately, Laser just barely running out of time, not able to complete that final generator. It's gonna be kicked, it's gonna be Call of Brine. Xeno's just in too risky a position to do anything about it. Laser's gonna go down, and that is all she wrote for these Elysium survivors.
Yeah, as the only chance they have is if Laser gets pulled here, and that means that Xeno will then get infected, so he's going to be eventually injured, or give Bubo his power again.
Walking duck, sitting duck. I'm getting confused with the Walking Dead DLC. Happens to the best. That'd be a crazy show, the Walking Ducks. But no, Xeno is positioning for the unhook here. He's gonna get it. But now, like, we've gone from having one marked man to two marked men. It's a pretty unenviable position to be in, no matter what way you slice it.
Yeah, it looks like the Elysium Survivors is going to go for some nice chases for us viewers to watch, instead of trying to complete these gens, because I very much doubt they're going to be able to get enough progress in time, especially with 2 stacks of stamina. Holy slowdown.
Yeah. And then just another corrupt purge proc, just to be like, just to really just dig the knife in there. Xeno is going to have to kill himself again. I have never seen, and like, I understand exactly why. You're in an awful position for this vibe, so you don't have a choice. But I've never actually seen this many cleanses against a Plague in a competitive match. Like, this is how bad the situation is that Bubba
Yeah, this looks like I have 3 Sables on my team right now versus a Plague in pubs. And even on Mother's Dwelling, it doesn't even matter.
The people keep talking about banning Renato from DBDLeague, but Sable is probably the next best option that we have. Xeno is going to try and run Shaq, but I don't think it's going to be worth much.
Yeah, he's given the call, guys, I'm 2-tap, and now Laser is trying to pre-stealth, maybe make something happen, but like at this point, I think Bubo's is he's going to use his game sense knowledge, and he's going to know exactly where Laser is, or not. Never mind. I'm speaking too soon. Bubo is, I think, just trying to make sure his gens aren't being progressed, and he's going to take the death on Xeno, which is going to be right next to the hatch as well. So he's going to be able to close that, and then Laser can maybe play for the gates, but at that point, I don't really know if it's going to matter much.
I don't believe it does. Laser needs to complete the last generator for like a hatch or for like hatch or exegates to matter, and that's just not going to happen here. So 4K1 been secured here. Honestly, Elysium Survivors did better than I thought they would. I genuinely thought that this could have ended in like a hard 4K2 situation. They made it competitive to try and get the final gen done, but in a game where in a set where the standard is getting escapes and like completing all 5 gens, I'm not sure how willing we are to celebrate. Well, they got a 4K1 and they almost got the 5th gen. It's not ideal here. Laser, of course, just coming back to the roster, and actually the last one standing. So, people who are saying, "Oh, just tunnel out Laser." Nope, Laser is actually just far better than that. Is refusing to go down until the very last breath, which unfortunately is right now.
Yeah, and now he is actually taking his last breath as Bubo is going to mori him in the LT. I mean, it's good showing from Laser. Is very good. He didn't get chased much until the end game, but Like they did well for the position that they were in. Like at one point they had an injured person on a gen in the 3 gen and 2 in basement with their one of the survivor going down and it was with corrupt purge as well. So that was a very dangerous spot. So getting a 4K1 when it could have been even higher than that is, I'd say, pretty good.
Yeah, we are going to throw it right back over to our very competent and very capable and very clever and, dare I say, very handsome analyst desk. We're going to break down that match and maybe tell us a little bit more about the next one. Over to you guys.
Egdar, I think you already had a look at my notes because I was going to use exactly those adjectives to describe our casters as well. Wow, I guess great minds think alike if that was freestyled. But yeah, anyway, with Laser coming back on Renato, there's this one guy in our YouTube comments on every single video that will be having a field day with this one. Didn't even escape and in the end got worried, so the person that wants to get Renato banned for some reason will at least be happy about the ending, or at least be torn on seeing him also being worried. But yeah, let's get back to our game here. 4K1 with Plague. That's pretty tough, especially with teams on this high of a level. Typically, you see escapes with Plague. We have seen relatively long late games, but I mean, if we just go back to Nocron Invictus, we can see, yeah, kind of everything as is typical with this killer, but it usually tends towards late game always happening and outs as well. And we also get a very similar combination again with Eruption and Call of Brine, so seemingly that has pushed its way into the meta. But also, Zach, there's one perk that many people have been missing, in our audience at least, on killers that get injuries very easily. That being Thanatophobia. They still almost got all the gens done. Do you think Thanatophobia is worth it on these killers? Or has that just been pushed out of comp for a good reason?
Thanatophobia is interesting because you do quite often see like eliminations really pushed in sets, and so you're not always seeing like maximum value from it. I think it's just a perk that really lends itself to killers like Plague, to be honest. I mean, like I'm thinking of other like things like Ghoul maybe or Legion, like these typical killers you see that perk used on. And you know, on other killers you don't really see being of any use whatsoever. So I think that it's more of a safety pick, one that you could probably definitely see value from, especially when you're in that early Plague, like that Plague early game where you're setting up your infections and you get those early injuries so that you have like a good setup for that slow gens. I mean, it was a bit different because this game was a bit chaotic, so I don't know if like necessarily it kind of went routine, but yeah, like I think it's a safe pick, and definitely one that's viable for a killer like Plague.
And I'm guessing it did help because that last generator ultimately did not pop, although it came scarily close in a, as you said, very chaotic match. We're already in the next game, ladies and gentlemen, so I'll be handing it straight over to our casters.
Thank you very much. Not a lot of time that you're going to be spending with the analyst desk, but hey, the more action that we can get, the better. Zeno going for a pretty standard build here. Different for sure. No Call of Brine's going to come in. Thanatophobia, of course, seems like a mainstay. Just the ability to get the ease of so many injuries on so many survivors. Like, it's one of the few kills that can just injure people by like just not even looking at them, right? Immediately gonna go for an aggressive play with the Corrupt Purge. This is kind of the definition of high risk, high reward. It means that you don't like set up your infections at all. This means that survivors are going to be free, except for the corrupt gens, to work wherever the hell they want. But it means that you have to get your chases to be good, and you can't get stunned out of your power that early. At least you're able to get an injury onto Hardwell. It wasn't all for naught, and if anything, this means that you can maybe use your power for an injury, and then like maybe start your infection, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but to be honest, that is really... You would have just preferred a hard down. Especially because Hardwell was in a position where you could have caught up with that power and gotten the down. It also kind of informs why we have the add-on choices of both the Blessed and the Ashen Apple. Instead of only getting instead of getting only one more corrupt pool and then having something else to maybe increase infection time or infection rate, you're going more all in with having those corrupt pools.
Yeah, like with a killer that can injure so easily, getting an injury with a Corrupt Purge is okay, but then getting that down is the main thing. The fact that he only got the injury with that and then lost his power immediately means that it's essentially as if though he's down to one add-on, because now he has no Corrupt Purge from that original pool. And then he has to leave Bubo, he has to leave Hardwell, and now he's lost all pressure, and it seems that they're going to pop 2 gens for the first down, which is already much better than the start that Elysium had.
That's not even good by just the standards of, you know, Elysium, Ariandel, what we've seen. This is just good by any standard, to be honest. Completing 2 gens without a single down on most of our killers is going to be a damn good performance, if we're being completely honest here. Of course, has to be a little bit careful. The infection is, of course, spreading between players like Squatter and Excise. Bubbo actually not getting hit for a moment there. Interesting. It buys an extra second or two, which, again, that genuinely could be the difference when we come down to the nitty and gritty of things. Xeno is still very much eluded by the first down. It needs to come through. You are going to hear the coughing actually informing you that there is a sneaky Lara Croft nearby. The coughing ain't going to be good enough to get your lunge long enough to hit over that window. So instead, you're back to square one, pressuring these gens, corrupt intervention now off of the generators. So that's going to be slowdown that you don't have to deal with. Survivors are very free right now. They can work, they can kind of just take their pick of the gens that they want to work on, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, they can even have one person walking around so they don't even get fully infected, which means that, yeah, it's essentially a 3v1 at that point, but he doesn't get full Thana value. So he doesn't have any 3-gen perks. Like, he has Pain Res for really good regression, but he needs a down for that. With Eruption or Color Brine, your down affects the gens immediately. But with Pain Res, you actually need a hook for it. So I believe Swatter going for the flashlight save doesn't get the angle because Xeno didn't face towards him, and didn't get the pallet save because I don't believe he was close enough. But now, this isn't even a Pain Res hook either. So this is still looking very rough for Xeno. Like, he needs to get these downs super quick. Which with Bamboozle is definitely possible. Like, it gives him a bit more chase pressure.
Yeah, it is certainly helping him out here. I'm afraid my stream isn't loading. Flightless, you're gonna have to say what's going on for a little bit. I apologize.
Well, right now, Xeno has just grabbed his Corrupt Purge from bottom side, and now is back to the hook, where he is now seemingly tunneling Hardwell, or he's trying to find the Savior. I believe he's found. Well, actually, no, they have a lot of distance now, so he's gonna switch back to his tunnel, or he's mind gaming main. Oh, these are some devious mind games, and it actually works out. Does he get?
Yeah.
No, Hardwell dodges the Corrupt Purge.
Hardwell able to dodge, but not forever. Eventually, he's going to be felled there. Note that also on the other side of the map, Excise has actually gotten rid of their own infection. But tried to position for a pallet save, but isn't going to get it. Almost hit through the window. Barely going to dodge that one out. Excise, you got to play very, very careful, brother. Swatter still trying to get those points for the flashlight saves, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. So now you can see Xeno is definitely in a much better position. But again, no one's dead for the time being, and that is that's a serious problem. Especially because I can envisage, at the minimum, one more generator gets completed before, say, Hardwell dies. And Xeno doesn't even look to be in a position to, you know, like, stop anyone from unhooking Hardwell. So maybe wants to go for the tunnel out, but that has yet to be seen.
Yeah, and he still hasn't even gotten a Pain Res, so if he can tunnel out Hardwell, like, because it's likely that they're going to save him. So he may as well let the save happen and then use the Pain Res on the final hook to get some good regression. But thankfully, Xeno has a 4-gen on this top side, which means his 4K1 win condition, his 4K2 win condition is still meetable. And he misses all of that, gets it down on a Swatter, and now just has to chase Hardwell on this Dead Zone God Palette with Corrupt Purge. So he If he can get this down super quick, this will be really good for him. Oh, Hardwell dodges that.
Yeah, he's going to have as much luck on the next one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How long can we get this block for? Not quite long enough. Hardwell going to be hit through the pallet there. Cheeky play, but the tie condition has been met from the survivors. Hardwell finally going to die. So you've got 3 survivors left. They need to complete 1 more generator. Swatter's going to get picked up off the ground, so you're not going to have that little ace in the hole of the survivor, which you can easily get to. Now it's kind of on Excise. Excise has to do a lot of good work here. Without it, you're a bit screwed, to be honest. You're going to be able to make this window, use the live and the rapid response to get away, and also read the aura. And that actually, Zeno thinks that's too much time. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
Yeah, and the fact that Hardwell actually didn't even get to use most of these pallets, so Bubo has plenty of stuff to work with. Especially with Windows, he knows everything he has to work with. So Zeno trying to, now he's just going to break in zone. He was trying to mind game this, but realized he can't. And now is going to chase him where there's no pallet. So now Bubo goes down, and it looks like Zeno's just going to start slugging now.
Draw here would be interesting.
Yeah, he's got Swatter now in a complete dead zone. There is no pallet here to work with. So now he's dead.
Wait, and Excise is just in that corner as well. What's happening? This is a bit of a survivor collapse right here. Zeno saw exactly where Excise was. He's going to chase that down. Not sure if Excise is... Okay, he's going to be able to pick up Bubbo, but again, they're both stuck in a complete dead zone here. There's nothing to work with. Bubbo, I don't believe, is going to get to that pallet. Okay, well...
he does!
It's a believer now. How about that? Yeah, it gets the smash hit value. That could be one pallet drop that actually changed a lot of the game. Without it, Bubbo absolutely would have gone down there, but instead is keen and content to continue working on another generator.
Yeah, and now like that may have been a down that got taken away from Zeno, but that's also a resource out of the way. And they're still in a 3-gen with not a whole ton of gen progress and 3 injuries in a 3v1. So, like, it's the resources, they really need them. And now this entire area where Swatter is hooked, other than that edge map palette at main, is a complete dead zone, and Zeno has pain res. So this is looking like this might be a tie for Elysium.
Bubbo is forced to play so risky because this is not an easy gen to work on in the slightest. You don't have good vision on where the kill is coming from. Of course, you have to get every second on the gen that you realistically can, but at the same time, you can't you can't give up anything, right? If you're on there too long, you're a bit too greedy, you just immediately fall over. So it's a precarious position to be in. Excise going down, but trading for Swatter, who's been taken off the hook by Bubbo, who's immediately going to return to this gen by the main building. That's going to be a pain res, though, and this is the thing. We were talking about how maybe the early game slowdown wasn't coming out from
And
Zeno.
Swatter gets caught out on the rotation as well, going for the insta-pull. And, by the way, Swatter's pain res hasn't been used, so now he's going to get pain res instantly, too. And the gen on main is regressing, and the gen that Excise is running to is going to start regressing now.
Yeah, there's nothing. I believe this is just going to be a tie. Quick reminder, ties, we do not immediately replay the set. We just carry on. We'll only replay at the end if things are still tied up by our 5th and final set of the day. Of course, whether that is to be seen has yet to be confirmed. I did think coming into this that this would be a very close matchup, and hey, what better way to cement that by opening with a tie? Wouldn't that be poetic for two such kind of, in the standings and in kind of general perception, evenly matched teams?
Yeah, this just goes to show how good Zeno really is on this killer, because his start was so much worse than what Bubo's was during the previous trial, and still Team Elysium is being able to tie this setup. Most likely, it is possible that Ariandel get this, but with this position that Zeno is in, I don't know if they can.
Eventually, you're going to need to commit on to something or someone, though. XI is stuck out at this gen, has this palette and window to work with. You have to make a bit of a mountain out of a molehill if you really want to do anything or get anything out of this. It's not a good palette in the slightest. You do get the stun, but you get it from the wrong side, and you're not able to use live over onto that window the way that you would have liked to. However, attention has been drawn away. Plague is a little spooked by the prospect of that last generator popping. Maybe, I guess, slightly overestimates how much time maybe Bubbo and Swatter have spent working over on this main building gen.
Yeah, the issue now is, like, the one gen that is super high progress is the area with nothing. So they have to leave so early from that gen that, like, all this regression that Xeno is getting from just a base kicks is going to really hurt them. They do still have some resources here. They have some really good topside RNG with all these God Rocks here, but they're far away from all the gens except the main gen, which is the one right now that is, out of the progress gens, the lowest.
Oh, okay. Oh, that could be an idea, actually. Obviously, Bubbo's not going to have that kind of luxury to just, cleanse over on the other side of the map. But yeah, if some of these survivors can cleanse themselves in a position where Xeno can't actually pick up any corrupt purges, then that could allow them to work on those kind of maybe the corner gen with a lot more safety and pep in their step. And actually, Xeno's going to be taking this chase relatively far away, has confidence, and yeah, why wouldn't you? If you're able to end chases as quickly as that, I too would be confident in my ability to leave the generators alone for just a little while. I guess you know that Swatter had already gone to the other side of the map to cleanse, so it would take him a while to come back to the gen split. Xeyes is, well, maybe just the one person working on gens that are about 40% progressed at best, so you feel fine here. It also allows you to get a corrupt purge a lot more easily, then come over to the side of the map and just be a total menace to society.
Yeah, now he has Dead Zone with possibly the strongest power in the entire game, and they do pop.
Hey!
Oh, even Painres wasn't enough to stop that gen from popping. Swatter and Xeyes just stacked it as soon as Swatter got down to top side, and they were actually able to pop that. I didn't think they would be able to. I thought that Xeno had a lot more regression on that gen.
Yeah, no, I genuinely did not think that gen was so progressed. I last remember it being about, like, maybe 50, 40 or so, and then I just kind of assumed that it got hit with a pain res and no one had stopped the regression from it, but clearly I was wrong. And at this point, remember, gens are the win con. Gens are the primary win con. It does not matter if, all the survivors just collapse right here. Bubbo could get hatched. Doesn't really matter to anyone right now. Xeyes could bleed out, go down, go on one hook, go on two hooks, crawl out of the map, jump over the fences on the side of the map and just leave that way. It really does not mean anything right now. Wow. I mean, I guess that's the name of the game. Xeno, unfortunately, taking eyes off the gens for just a little too long, even in a position where you think, yeah, I'm safe to take my eyes off gens. Like, they're in an awful 3-gen, everyone is injured and dead, and there's nothing that can be done. And then they just get done anyway. You underestimate the ability of the survivors to go over to the objective and hold left click for a good 90 seconds or so.
Yeah, Xeno tried to greed to get to that corrupt purge on bottom side. When he grabbed Bubo off the window on mid map, had a pain res top side right in his gen setup, but he tried to greed for the pain res and then get his corrupt purge to try to get quicker chases, and it actually ended up biting him in the butt because he didn't have enough time to get to the gen from bottom side. So it was a very risky, calculated play, and it just didn't work out for him.
Yeah, that it was, and yeah, there's going to be a lot to talk about then. There's going to be a lot to talk about that matchup. It really came down to the slimmest of margins. It's, as you said, possibly just that slight amount of extra time taken to go for that corrupt purge might have spelled disaster there. We're going to send it right back over to the analyst desk, who are going to briefly wrap up their thoughts on that map before we go on to our next set, which is the Hillbilly. So they're going to have you covered for the next few minutes. Take it away.
That last gen pop was quite impressive by Ariandel. We've had a lot of back and forth with different gen regression perks. Xeno opted to go with the pain resonance there, only had a single stack used by the time 4 gens were popped, and then was able to finally unleash the full potential of the perk in that late game. MetalBro, I want to ask you first. We have a lot to compare between these two matches. We have Eruption versus Pain Res, and we had a Basement Party versus Split Hooks in Xeno's game now. What do you think? How do these two matches just now compare?
These matchups went very, very differently, but in the end, they came so close, so very, very close. I wanted to address the fact that the average first down is 3 minutes and 6 seconds. Bubbo's came in at 2 minutes and 28 seconds, and Xeno's came in at 3 minutes and 51 seconds. It was quite the opposite when it comes to the first down, honestly, especially because Xeno just did not have the best start when it comes to a Plague match. We do expect those longer first down times for Plague because she's got to, spend some time setting up, getting generators infected, and then finding her first chase, right? But just so much went wrong for Xeno in the very beginning that, like, I almost sensed this win for Ariandel long before it even came in.
Yeah, we saw quite the discrepancies in this game just now, quite the differences. Pretty impressive how Elysium almost came back from it, honestly, with Xeno in that game just now, but then Ariandel just managed to pop that gen, and we will not be seeing a tie. Zach, do you have any finishing thoughts before we head into the Hillbilly set?
I think, to be honest, Xeno had quite an aggressive early game in that sort of return set, which he got punished for with that pallet stunt early, and I think it kind of led to what state the game was in, but towards like late game where you didn't really have too much. He had quite bad RNG on his pain risk hooks, so when he had his early stages, well, at least he was saving them for the end. So when the survivor positioning messed up, like that's why we're almost facing a tie, because we've had like really deep hooks into that 3-gen area. And there were a couple of things that like really helped the survivors too, like the smash hit value on that one pallet when you were basically facing the 3K. Like I can't remember who it was. It was Ace making it to that pallet, getting the smash. It was Bubbo. Yeah, that moment, and then we had the Excise making it to safety. Like those two things, like really gave the survivors like their game back, basically. So yeah, super close matchup, and it kind of feeds back to what we were saying about the set in general, just being this matchup in general being super close.
Excise has been called the most consistent player by Toby for a good reason, and we'll be seeing if that continues in our second set, being the Hillbilly. So, fellow casters, please take over.
And now we're back with Xeno Billy. Xeno is a very, very, very well-known Billy player. Like his Billy can get some insane results on DBDLeague in the past. It has been very good. He is extremely good mechanically, and he has some game sense that some of us will just never be able to understand. And he's got a pretty nice build here. He's got Ruin, which is very good on Billy. He's got insane map pressure. He's got crowd control to shut down windows, which is his biggest threat. You've got Eruption as a backup to Ruin, and surprisingly, he's bringing Thana. Now, like Thana was picked quite a lot early on into the Billy meta because it's easy to get downs, and that means you get injuries a lot, which means that people aren't going to be healing as much, and Thana can get some good work in. But it's kind of fallen off as of late.
Yeah, I mean, it has fallen off, but let me cook for a minute here, as it appears that is going to cook Excise over in the corner of the map. Don't worry, I'm back. As I was saying, as Excise gets cooked over in the corner of the map, let me cook here with the thought behind Fan. It's basically guaranteed that someone is gonna bring Fan No Mither along, just for the anti-slug potential. Billy's a spectacular slug killer. Being injured against him isn't like the biggest deal in the world. It could also slow the survivors down. Again, like Billy isn't a killer where you mind being injured that much against him. Obviously, the threat of the power plus the mobility. In Chase, it's the insta-down. That's what it's all about. So being injured, it's just a regular Chase, and most people will take that, to be perfectly honest. So that's where I think the value in Than could come from. It could also just be in general. Billy's a very strong killer. You're not allowed to bring many things, so something like Than could work out. Firecrackers is going to allow Bubbo to barely make it over to that pallet over in the bus. Who's going to make a little more distance over to the corner, but actually buying just enough time for Zeno to remember what it's all about, remember those generators. Maybe after that last set and that unfortunate loss, is just really locked in to the generators right now.
Yeah, now he's trying to use this mobility to get around this map and like get these survivors out of position, and it seems that he may have found Bubo in such a state, and he does it. He gets the slug, and he decides to just pick this. So he's going to just, you know, be a nice killer man, and he's going to get his 12 hooks this game. And actually, Excise is healed now, so trying to get rid of that Than a little bit. And I saw on, I believe it was Bubo. I think Bubo has Tenacity and Soul Guard, so I don't think they're going to be cleansing any totems this game, because Soul Guard lets you pick yourself up infinitely if you are cursed by a Hex. And you also get the Endurance status whenever you're picked up. So that coupled with Tenacity, he essentially has unlimited Unbreakable.
Unlimited revives. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, but what's the opportunity cost of that? Obviously, you can get rid of one of the totems. Like you don't have to play with Ruin and Crowd Controller, but you don't exactly have the luxury of selecting which one you get rid of. And so, regardless, you're going to be dealing with a lot of blocked windows or constant gen regression. It's not going to be a good thing regardless. And Hardwell bumping into Zeno several times here is stuck out here in the open, has nothing else to work with, going to be taken down. And also, that whole thing about, you know, the No Mither or the Tenacity Soul Guard, that's all great news, unless Zeno just doesn't slug. Now, yes, okay, that does deny Billy a very strong aspect of his kit, the fact that he is so good at slugging, but also it also denies the survivors from getting any value from those portions of their kit.
Yeah, they have their perks centered around Billy being able to slug, and he's not slugging, which means they don't get to use the main aspect of their builds.
Yes.
So it's actually, it works both ways. But with Zeno's build, with Ruin, slugging actually, like, it's not that big of a drawback, because he's able to keep going around the map and getting this Ruin value. And then the unhooks, he's able to essentially just keep trading with them. Keep trading. Oh, and actually he gets spun there. And then Buddy
Dude,
it looks a little buggy on spectator side, but I think that might have been an actual just spin there.
You're in the playoffs, King. We cannot be having that, my man. We cannot be having that. Zeno's going to opt to break that pallet there. No ifs, nuts, or coconuts. Wants to chase down Hardwell only for a moment, but recognizes that trying to play around that window in the truck is going to be a bit of a tough task for the little old hillbilly. So is going to just instead be constantly flipping attention to everywhere else going on these generators, which has been good on the Survivor side. We feel like we've skipped over that a bit, but these Survivors, obviously, they've had a couple downs. They have given some stages to Zeno, but overall, they're playing pretty well disciplined. They're having some good chases even when they do go down, and they're also making sure to make the gens work.
Yeah, they're having good chases, they're getting the saves very quickly, but they're also getting a lot of gen progress, so they're playing extremely efficiently right now. And it seems like Zeno's, I'm not going to slug, I'm just going to hook them constantly, is kind of backfiring a little bit, because he has no death right now. He's still in the 4v1, and he doesn't even have full Thana, because Excise is still healthy.
Yeah.
So he's in a bit of a tricky position. Ruin is putting in a lot of work right now, though, and I believe they're not cleansing so that they can keep Soul Guard, and there's no guarantee that they're going to get Ruin.
Oh, hello!
Boo gets curved really nicely there.
I don't even, from what I could see, I don't even think that was a curve. Zeno just did a little 360 and then he did all that work just to chainsaw in a straight line and caught Bubbo for it anyway. Fair enough, big fella. Get the downs, make it flashy for us. Why don't you? In the meantime, Excise, the only healthy survivor, up in the corner, and the tree, unfortunately, chainsaws are pretty good at cutting through trees. It's kind of their entire deal. However, survivors are also very good at completing generators. Bubbo taking advantage of the Soul Guard, like we said, to get over to this gen, which actually has a lot of progress on it, about the 80% mark here. Of course, Bubbo, not the safest fight, but does have a sprint burst, just in case. And Billy almost just... Did you forget? Did you forget about this gen? You either forgot about this gen, or you're just being kind of overwhelmed by, you know, concerns. There's a gen on the other side to be worked on. There's someone at main building positioning for the unhook. You have the hook to defend. That your mind is in a million places at once if you're Zeno.
Yeah, he's got an extremely tight 3-gen here too. Like, these gens are high progress, but it's Ruin plus 4 stacks of Thana on Billy. Like, it doesn't matter if they're working on gen a mile away from him. He's going to be there in 2.5 seconds flat. So it looks like Zeno's just trying to defend this hook while letting his Ruin get a little bit of passive aggression. And unfortunately, Excise fails the body block and Hardwell goes down. He's going to take the hook again. And he does have to worry about this gen because Swatter's been working on that the entire time, if I'm not mistaken. So it should be quite high progress. And it's around like the 80-90% mark.
Yeah, but remember, against a Billy, the safety isn't even necessarily in having, you know, nearby pallets, nearby windows, things like that. It's just having stuff that you can hide around and force them to collide into, which is exactly what's being worked with here. Bubbo not able to get the gen, but we do have Hardwell here, able to pick it up. So you get the final generator completed at the cost of 2 of your survivors going down. You know already that Bubbo has... I'm not sure if it's been sussed out that it's Soul Guard, but Zeno knows that you can't slug Bubbo regardless, and so he's going to have to put them on a hook. Hardwell, not sure if clean pickup can come through. I'd be very interested to see if the escapes can come through, which I think they will, but more curiously, how many can come through.
It looks like it's going to be probably a couple out, because Zeno is in a position where he kind of has to slug, and he can't, because one, he's chasing him either. Oh, that's a good stun from Swatter. Swatter, the original criminal Atom main, showing exactly why he's known for that.
Yeah, I think what happens here, maybe Excise, Bubbo, Hardwell leave, try and maybe get Swatter the hatch. It's a long shot here, but I don't foresee them being able to, you know, save Swatter in a situation like this. But I would like them to surprise me. Regardless, they put in a pretty damn good shift here. Anyway, not giving up many stages at all here, and Swatter just continuing to hold them at this shack. You know that they're like thinking and plotting, okay, how can we get Swatter out? And they've actually healed Bubbo, which might suggest that they want to send someone to body block, but like body blocking against a Billy don't really work like that, Chief.
Well, I believe that Swatter has actually only been hooked once, and Bubo is Death Hook, which means that they can likely send in Bubo to try to take it down for Swatter, and then Swatter makes distance towards the gates. Or less. Oh,
wait,
Swatter absolutely
just left. Swatter just left. We were doing all of this talk and like all of this like theorizing and like metagaming of, well, they're healing, but what if they come for the body block? Swatter was just like, I'm out, Chief. I don't want to be here no more. It's like he could have left at any point and just decided not to give Zeno some fun chase for a while.
Yeah, it looked like they were healing for exactly what I said, probably taking the Death Hook survivor for Swatter instead, so they can get at least one extra stage out. And it didn't even matter because Swatter was like, "Nah, I'm just going to leave anyway. I'm out."
It's just the walking man emoji, dude. So I'm sure that the analysts will have quite a few things to say about that. We're going to be sending it over to them just in time for your next set. So take it away.
Thank you very much, Egdar. That was impressive. That cannot be underestimated. 4 out against a Hillbilly in 2025 after he's been buffed. Have to cut Xeno some slack though, he was adjusted, so he's not as strong anymore as he was last year after he got his initial buff. But I do remember last year, Xeno used to get quite upset whenever he would, even in practice, but also in tournaments, he would get quite upset if he wasn't able to 4K before 3 gens pop. And seeing the killer or his result being reduced to this must be pretty painful. I want to talk about the build again, also because that's something I haven't seen in a while on Billy, especially that Ruin pick as well. Zach, why do you think Ruin would be brought in? I can understand Hillbilly, lots of mobility, probably good to push people off generators. Do you think that's worth it?
I think Ruin is suited to a playstyle. I don't think that it's like a choice pug that everyone kind of runs. I think that like totems in general are quite popular on Billy because of just how easy you can sort of move around the map. Those are my thoughts on Ruin. But I think in general, if you're playing fast, you're playing aggressive, Ruin, you can always get like value from it. It's something that's like always slowing survivors down. The casters kind of picked up on it, like his choice to pick and things, like giving the survivors time to actually get on those gens and actually put pressure on him. It did backfire, and he ultimately kind of was punished for that decision. And Ariandel are just on form right now on the survivor side.
Yeah, also got redirected from just perks to what you said, the survivor side, the chases as well. You know, we saw a couple of weeks ago when Rocket came back to Invictus when he also played against Xeno and had a very dominant first chase at the start of the trial. Now we see Xeno run crowd control. I personally don't think that's worth it on Bloodlodge. There's just not enough windows. But MetalBro, what do you think about this perk? Is that something you would need on Billy? Or would you prefer the conservative pick of Bamboozle?
Honestly, I don't think that crowd control is ever really a terrible choice. But not only mentioning that, but also Ariandel played around it very well. I think only 2 tokens of crowd control were used, and the pallets were used very conservatively as well. I mean, one thing that we usually see with crowd control is that pallets get eliminated rather quickly, and the windows will start adding up once all the pallets are gone, right? But that didn't really happen. Ariandel played around it very well, slow vaulting and chase whenever they needed to, and then fast vaulting, obviously, when they really had to. But a big thing that I think really hurt Xeno is when he was attempting to slug. There were 3 different self-recovering perks in play in that match, which really hurt him.
Yeah, that was pointed out time and time again in great detail by our lovely casters, especially with that Normiver that we see brought in practically every single time, but also the tenacity. It just helps so much, especially against killers that need to slug like Hillbilly because of his one-shot capability. Yeah, thank you very much for your insights. I'll be handing it right back over to our casters for game number 2 of set number 2.
Thank you very much to the analyst desk once more. So, Bobo's turn now. What can you make of this build going to be a lot different now? Well, I say a lot different. You still have the fundamentals here. Your corrupt, your ruin, your corrupt, your ruin, your crowd control, your thrill of the hunt. So you're full committing to mostly these 2 perks. Thrill of the Hunt is more like I have hexes and I really like my hexes, and so I'm just going to make them live forever, which Thrill of the Hunt kind of does. You're going to be protecting both of those at the cost of not having anything else. Remember that the survivors last set were able to make such a good job of playing around the ruin and the crowd control, even with another perk on top of that. So I'm not entirely convinced this build is going to work out so well for Bubba.
Yeah, and a very interesting choice that you don't really see a lot of Billy is Corrupt, because Billy's ability to go from point A to point B almost instantly, and the insta-down, like if he finds a survivor out of position and downs them, then Corrupt is just gone instantly. But it actually seems that Bubo gets some good, really good value from it. So like now he's in a position where he's got only 2 survivors working in gen. He doesn't know that because Xeno's stealthing for the save. And he's got 2 hex perks. He's essentially down to 2 perks right now that actively do anything, because it's very unlikely that survivors cleanse any of these totems since they have Soul Guard. And now I think Bubo looks like he's going to go for the same strategy that Xeno went with. Never mind, he's changing it up. He's going for the tunnel out now. Oh, he could have got the hit there, but he started sliding on the car instead.
Yes.
The Sin car.
Yeah, unfortunately, cars in the DVD universe, they're not fueled with oil. They are fueled with butter. It appears, although going to get this. Xeno just we're gonna let Xeno just like think about what he did for a second.
Listen, it all happens, okay? Like you know, you're a little too far. You're like, I can make this, and you just don't make it. It's okay.
You drop it from the wrong side and then go down.
Yeah, I think he was just a tiny bit too far to be able to go to the other side, so he had to drop from the same side, and he wasn't even close enough to get the stun at all. So
Well,
had a funny little interaction.
I'm no DBD caster or anything, but that might have given the game to Bobo. There are now 2 hooks right in the vicinity of each other. Oscar is dead. Marco and Laser, even if they do 2 more gens, they are not going to complete them in time to be able to say like both of these survivors. Best case scenario, you can probably like trade for one of them, hopefully Oscar, because then that stops them from literally dying. But all Bobo has to do is just hold the chain, just hold it in front of anyone possibly going for the unhook. He's actually going to try. Everyone's going to try for the body block. They end up doing it. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure I was expecting
Xeno using his deli to get BT and then body block for Marco, who then goes for the save. And now Oscar is in a really, really precarious situation because he has to have a good chase. If he does not have a good chase, then they are in a really bad spot. But to be fair, there is 2 gens left. So, and Marco was working on a gen, so it was like maybe 50% at the time.
Yeah, credit to the Elysium survivors. They're always good for it in a clutch situation like this, where they need to pull off some kind of miraculous survivor save that 99% of teams will just absolutely crumble at seeing. We have an insta-down killer who has put 2 survivors next to each other, and somehow they're able to get both of them out alive. Oscar able to live
DH
with, as you say, a lovely little dead hard usage there. And that extends the chase even longer. I can imagine that the other gens are possibly flying by right now.
I think Bubo may have forgotten that was crowd controlled, so he risked a lot there going for that chainsaw, but it works out for him. He gets it down, and I think they might actually pop both gens here.
You can never underestimate how fast a Billy is, especially with the red engraving add-ons. Speaking of add-ons, also. Instead of the turning add-on, the spike boots, we're going with the Thompson's Mix blue add-on. Blue add-on, odd to say, but still.
Yeah.
That's gonna reduce the chainsaw cooldown by 10%, but only when you're not in overdrive mode. So interesting pick there. Implies that you want to use it to shut distance a lot more. It obviously takes away some of the chase potential, but looking at it now, Bobo hasn't exactly struggled with the chases. And you can just kind of camp Marco here. Looking at the stages that you need, this is perfectly fine here. Just as a quick recap, it was 7 stages scored by Xeno, 4 fresh. So I believe that a camp out here would just secure a win, or at least close to that for Bobo.
Actually, it would secure a loss, because if Xeno and Laser were somehow able to get out, it would be 7 stages, 3 fresh.
Ah, yes, Laser's not been hooked yet. Good.
Yeah,
good
so this actually isn't like completely free for Bubo. He does need Laser, which it seems like. Oh, he doesn't get Laser with Laser pulling out his juke. He's unrusted now, and he's gonna have to have a really good chase now.
Well,
I think Marco and unlucky. He had no pallets here. Xeno and Marco are likely doubling that gen, and they have to pull this. Otherwise, it's just a free loss. Never mind. Xeno's he's showing us his beam. You know, he got a new beam for Christmas, and he's wanting to show everybody.
And he actually gets a save. What a joker! What a joker! Xeno's going to go right back on the hook for this one. Still not dead, actually. But now we are very much in a position. Now that you secured that the other fresh hook onto Laser, and that killing Xeno here would get you, I believe, 8 stages. I believe you're just fine here. To be honest, you're just fine.
Yeah, he can just camp this, and he can just sit there with his chainsaw 99 the entire time and make sure that the survivors never get the unhook. And even if they do, you just instantly pick that survivor up, and then you've got 9 stages for fresh. So Swatter actually being able, Swatter being able to actually juke Xeno in that end game last trial actually ended up costing Elysium the draw, at least. Actually, no, it would have been a win, I think, because it would have been 9 stages for fresh had he gotten Swatter dead that last game.
Well, I mean, the average for a Billy is looking at the stats. The average for a Billy is 8 hook stages. So it's not even like Xeno did particularly bad getting 7. Like, okay, you got 1 below average, but like, you know, potatoes, right? Mm-hmm. That really did cost you at the end of it. Of course, Analysts, very, very clever and capable. We're going to break all the action down. I mean, we're close to seeing... It seems like we're close to seeing another blowout here. Ariandel looking very, very strong right now. We're going to send it over to the analyst desks, who are going to finish up this set and tell us a little bit about your favorite worst nightmare, Freddy Krueger, not Freddy Fazbear. Take it away, guys.
Ho. Yeah, this is getting difficult more and more as we progress for Elysium, considering Ariandel just took one of their picks as well. Plague was originally Ariandel's, but Hillbilly was Elysium's pick, so that must hurt even more, just to add insult to injury on top of the status quo of 2-0. You've rightfully pointed that out with Swatters chase there. That may have been the game changer. This time around, Bobo was able to get a tunnel out relatively quickly, while Xeno decided to spread stages. And I want to ask you, MetalBro, about that. What do you think? Is that worth it on Hillbilly, or is it just always better to do the conservative approach and stay with tunneling one select individual out?
You know, I think it really depends on what kind of cards you have right in front of you. I think Xeno saw an opportunity and it just didn't work out as well for him as he thought it would. But we've seen times where that's actually worked out. I mean, you can get a slug going and build up a lot of pressure, but it just didn't really work out for Xeno. Ariandel recovered very well from the position that Xeno put them in. However, in Bubbo's Billy match, he played very aggressively for a tunnel out, and while the chases on Elysium's side were very, very strong, the tunnel out really just did a number on them. And it's really unfortunate because Elysium played still very well and they only lost by a single stage.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a lot to be said there, right? Elysium is not a team to be slept on at all by any means. And I think that people were actually sleeping on Ariandel, if we're being honest here, because I mean, just look at the performance here today. Ariandel is absolutely blasting things out of the park here against a team that people consider is the number 2 team in the world.
You mentioned recovery, and speaking of, we've seen Elysium 2 times now in both of these previous sets fumble quite a good amount, but then somehow coming back. First game we had the basement party, second time around Xeno misses the pallet save. But the fact they've been recovering from that and almost always winning from it as well, or pulling even at least, is quite remarkable. That is really impressive. We were already talking about crowd control in the first Billy match. I'm kind of rethinking my statement I made about it. We saw Bobo bring it again, and I feel like crowd control is not even meant to accumulate stacks, or in other words, to block windows. It's just supposed to be area denial. What do you think? Do you think that once survivors notice it's crowd control, they just decide to not run main at all anymore?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said in the previous
Zach.
match. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I have an answer ready for that, but
Hello, Zach.
yeah. So I think so with Billy's like chainsaw in general, it's definitely like a zoning tool, right? And like you said, area denial, like shutting down specific corners of the map, kind of supports that zoning. Main building is a very strong loop without the crowd control, so it's like it's one of those ones that you can shut down at least early if the survivors choose to go there. So it is definitely like when it's not in play, it's always the option. But when it is, it's only the option once, right? Unless you're focusing on cleansing those totems. But they're through the hunt kind of denying that. But yeah, I think that's good.
Good. I also think it's good. Yeah, that was definitely pretty interesting. We see with many of these perks, killers bring them, but they don't come to effect because they're just supposed to be mental warfare, kind of. And I can imagine that's exactly what crowd control also did. And also just the fact that it would take way too long to cleanse all of those totems, so survivors don't even bother anymore. That already concludes the set here. Ariandel 2-0 up, and we're loading in to Kashmar, the Nightmare, with Bobo. Please go on, guys.
Yeah, and now we're back with Bubo on the Nightmare on Dead Dog Saloon. I absolutely love Freddy. I have been playing him for a while now. Even just before his recent buff, I was playing him a little bit. Then he got this buff, and now I've played him a ton. I have the world on this guy, so he is near and dear to my heart. So seeing Bubo, who has gotten really good results with him in the past on this killer, I'm hoping that he gets hopefully a 4K3. I think this would be pretty cool.
I didn't know I was casting with a celebrity. The world record holder of the Freddy Krueger streak. That's crazy.
Listen. I don't like tooting my own horn, but toot toot.
Bro's walking down the street and everyone is like, "Are you the world record holder?"
Yeah, aren't you the pig guy?
One of the two to pick your poison. Regardless, Bobo's gonna try and pick up some hits, some downs on these members of Elysium, and is gonna get a pretty good start here by finding a hit on Marco relatively early here. Build that we're going for, again, the Call of Brian. Since its buff, it's definitely entered the meta. Last time, did give me slight nightmares watching the Singularity 3-gen strat with Call of Brian on this map. Freddy, not exactly a killer inclined to play like that, but the ability to teleport over 2 generators means that any gen kick perk is going to be good. Oscar using a nice life there to get out in the occasion. You have to be so careful with your resources on Dead Dog. People, obviously it's a very survivor-sided map. We kind of recognize this. But often you can get bogged down in thinking, but on like, you know, an area like that corner of the map, I have so many resources to work with. I have a pretty good main building. Like, it's really not so bad. And I think the difference is that most of the strength in that just comes from kind of individual pallet tiles, which once the pallet's gone, it's about as useless. And it's very easy for the survivors to accidentally create a dead zone for themselves.
Yeah, it's extremely easy. And I want to touch on Bubo's build here. He's going with, obviously, like you pointed out, he's going with Call of Brian Interruption. A very good Dream Palette hit there.
I've never seen a Dream Palette hit in comp. It might have happened, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, they're like, bro, Dream Palette hits are so satisfying. And then Zeno just wins that and jiggies away. That's even though he got hit there, he comes out on top. But I want to point out on his build, he's got Nancy's Masterpiece, I believe that is, which for every time that you use the power, you get a snare or a Dream Palette hit, you get 10% of your TP back. And also the Pill Bottle, which every time you put a survivor in Dream World, whether you put them in there yourself or they go in there naturally, it decreases their timer by 10% up to a maximum of 50% per survivor.
You make them sleepier.
Yeah, exactly. And with Sloppy Butcher, whenever a survivor is healing in the Dream World, the Freddy can teleport onto them. So with Sloppy and the Pill Bottle, that creates a very good combo where they're not able to reset because of the the sloppy, and they're also unable to reset because of the dream world. So they're constantly just, if they're giving up hits super freely, and nice down on Xeno, finally coming down at 5 gens actually. Never mind, 4 gens. But like it creates a lot of like natural pressure in a sense.
Yes.
So now Bubo with Colubrine and Eruption, if he's able to get a death pretty early on and hold this 3-gen, this is actually like 4Kable with this killer.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Like the thing is, the first down took a while. It really did. 3 minutes 46 is massively behind schedule, but it didn't feel like it mattered. It felt like, despite not actually getting a first down, there was so much invisible pressure being applied to the survivors anyway. And as we said, with these add-ons, that's only going to make things worse, especially because you have to use, and not just the add-ons to make the power effectively stronger as time goes on, but also the resources. Several pallets have been burned. This corner of the map isn't quite a dead zone yet, but it's getting closer and closer to it. And only 1 generator has been completed. Bobo has slowed the game down to his pace, and it's one which he is quite comfortable with holding. Another neat bonus of Call of Brine. Of course, everyone mostly talks about the regression, but the notifications of when it's being worked on can be very handy when you're a killer that can just teleport right to it.
Yeah, and Bubo is using a very well-known strat where you snare the survivor, then you hit them, so they get even less distance. And now he's just taking his tags and trying to play his 3-gen, which is something you pointed out, where it took a while to get his first down, but it didn't actually matter because he was getting so many hits, he was getting so many resources out of the way. Like, it was 3 minutes for the first down, and yet only 1 gen popped. So he's still got an uphill battle to climb, but this is in a very good position for him, especially now that he's almost interrupted the reset, but he's found them almost instantly. Yeah. Although it is main building, he does not want to chase, or maybe he does want to chase this. It seems, yeah, he's going to take the tag on Marco and possibly just TP away. I think he might be playing the classic hit and run style.
Yeah, gonna continue. I mean, the build informs that style, and it's one which Freddy is very good at. So no reason not to just stick to your guns and do what you do best, right? Finally, another generator is going to be popped, and this one, despite having Call of Brine kicked on it earlier, is actually taking quite is actually still taking quite a beating from the survivors. They're doing a good job of trying to pump that one out in all of the chaos. They're also leaving a couple of resources. Again, everything that I said earlier about how you can dead zone yourself, that's like that's not anything negative towards the survivors.
Oh,
they are playing carefully.
He predicts the live there too.
Yeah,
so they're playing very carefully.
Yeah, so that's going to be value from the live, which just isn't gained. They're playing carefully, but you got to use something eventually, right? You can't just save every pallet forever. And we're seeing exactly why that ends up being a problem. I mean, Freddy, for a killer with such seemingly high APM, he is like slowing the game down, and that's kind of seems to be exactly what he wanted.
Almost, if he had gotten that snare aimed a little bit more perfectly, he could have interrupted laser. Him missing laser on that snare actually costed him the gen. They popped it as the eruption procced. So now his 3-gen is gone, I think. I believe they have main gallows, next, like also gallows area, and then something on like bottom side, I believe. I don't think he has a 3-gen anymore with a 3-gen build. He does have 2 slugs though, so it's not the worst.
One slug. The Survivor Sports slug repellent with them. It's an unfortunate one, but it happened to the best of us. So it's gonna have to take laser in the corner. Not the mark that you want, but it's the mark you've been given, and you're gonna take it regardless. Yeah, you don't have anything like a pain resonance here, so this hook isn't gonna get you any more regressive value aside from just, you know, the hook itself. It's also the first hook onto Laser. Yes, it's a fresh, but Laser has plenty of hang time, and you know that these survivors are going to use it for as long as they can. They've also managed to either heal or keep Marco healthy in all of this, despite the sloppy butcher and the ability of teleport to those healing survivors, meaning that you have someone who can actually go for this save relatively safely. Well, maybe not anymore.
Yeah, it seems that I think he's just going to try. He's going to try again to just get his tags and then I guess just go back to the hook. He knows where two people are, and if Zeno's going for the save, that means he's not on gen. So at least like he has a bit of pressure from that. Another big issue with his play style is the fact that Elysium has played super well and have gotten to a position where they don't have many stages and they're healing consistently. They don't have many resources, but they don't have a 3-gen anymore. So they're in an okay position, and Bubo has been kicking gens this entire time, which means that he's been getting really eating through that gen kick limit. So now even main building has a lot of kicks on it already, and with Eruption, those are going to disappear almost instantly.
Yeah, it is the suffering from success build that Bubbo's got right now. You do too much work and eventually it backfires. Marco was hiding there for a long time. Now I understand forcing Laser to go to second stage. It wasn't ideal, but obviously there's a gen right next to it that Bubbo could teleport to. Teleporting it could, of course, you don't want to give your position away or give anything free away, so Marco had to play it a bit safe there. Now, however, this is a tough spot. Laser very much in a position to be tunneled out. One more generator flying on the flip side. I believe it was one actually over kind of in the houses section, it seems, while main building still being worked, and Bubbo does not give a damn about it. Once Laser dead, and once Laser dead now, Marco instead offers himself as the perfect sacrifice, and it's going to work out to at least let Laser live for a little longer, but that did mean one more eruption proc on that topside generator.
Yeah, main gen is running out of kicks very quickly and is still high progress. Bubo was having such a slow but methodical start, and now Elysium have really come back from that. Laser winning that stun on that pallet, and now Marco's been hooked, but he's fresh hooked, so it means he's going to be on that hook for the next like 60 seconds. Now that he's been on there for a little bit, Laser also forcing grab. He's going to be second stage. And main
yeah, Laser's going to be dead, I believe. I believe Laser hit second stage earlier.
He did hit second. My bad.
Yeah, Laser's out of the game now.
But also, I don't know if you noticed, unless Eruption was on cooldown, I wasn't paying too much attention to that, but I believe Bane might be out of kicks because he kicked main, and he doesn't have any Eruption proc yet.
It can be difficult to tell, but I think I heard the crackling. I also think main is out of kicks, especially that Bubbo is now just completely ignoring it and instead going for the down onto Zeno. But if there's ever a time to run out of kicks, I reckon now is a decent time to do it. With every survivor injured and a pallet admittedly dropped on your face, which isn't the best play in the world, but rather unfortunate. Instead, like, you're not in the worst spot here. For a hit and run killer with everyone injured and no realistic ways of healing themselves up, 4K1 is not impossible here. I'd be very impressed if these survivors could complete one more generator. Unfortunately, I do not believe that they're going to be able to.
Yeah, if they can somehow keep these chases lasting a little while, which it seems like they're going to, considering Xeno just got balanced landing and he's immune, so he has Shack window to at least delay some time with. And then have someone maybe go for the pickup or complete main, then they could make this 4K0 if Bubo can somehow get them down in time. Except main is not that high progress. I think Xeno might go down before they pop main.
Bubo's
just not risking it. Oh, and he didn't expect Bubo to actually commit to that.
Yeah, he might have thought that he was just faking the TP there. And just went, oh, he's not going to teleport, it's fine. And then that never happened. Xeno's dead in this corner. You're able to pick up Marco in time, But I do feel like, no pun intended, the survivors are living on borrowed time right now. They're picking each other up. They're, living as long as possible. But when you're in a spot where you have to pick up in the corner to force a grab, and then like the one other dude is barely able to pick up mid-map, then there's not really a lot for it.
Yeah, well, the issue is that main is actually officially out of kicks. I saw that Eruption was not on cooldown, and Eruption has not been applied to that gen, meaning they, if they can somehow just outrun his chase.
How is everyone alive? I mean, genuine, we were in a spot where, there were 2 people down and the kill was encroaching on the last guy. And somehow, somehow, some way, the Elysium survivors have managed to have everyone live for a bit longer and still continue to threaten these gens. Are they going to get it done? Probably not. But the fact they made it this competitive is still impressive to me.
Yeah, now Bubo's just opening this door, trying to get this down super quick. He needs this. The other gens are not super high progress, but if they somehow can chase for long enough, they can actually pop this. And because Oscar is not Deathhook, and Marco, I don't believe Marco is either, they could risk outs.
Well, so Xeno has the entire main building and the balanced landing to work with. It's still very much intact. If anything, with that door being broken earlier by Bobo in an attempt to find Xeno, this main building is actually stronger. Unfortunately, Marco not able to finish his gem, but now it's so progressed. And Oscar's been picked up. These survivors... And the head on! Bobo picks the wrong locker! And that is his eternal reward for it there. Goodness me. And even if this gen is heavily progressed and Marco goes down this corner, I genuinely think that barely enough time might have been bought for Xeno and Oscar to complete the main building gen. Bobo is certainly going to try that timing, teleport right back to it. No, never mind. It's so unbelievably regressed. Wow, that's insane.
Call O'Brien put in some massive work, thankfully. Now that gen is less than 50%, but it's not going to regress any further. So and he's in chase with the person who hasn't even been hooked once. So hooking Oscar right now would essentially do nothing. If anything, it would just delay more time. So he has to get this down now, which he does, because Oscar tries for the enemy's mind game. But now this gen's also really high progress too.
Mm-hmm.
This is literally just a war of attrition. Xeno is playing ambulance right now, and Marco and Oscar are playing.
Hit another head on. You weren't in lock long enough. the exhausted had just worn off. I was like, wait, maybe, but no, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, he needed like another second.
Yeah, still not dead. These survivors are very plucky right now, but much like it has been for rather a while, it seems everything is resting on Xeno's shoulders. Again, everyone's been playing their part, but Xeno's often been the one in a position of having to make a play and then just somehow doing it. Bobo is just going to be so paranoid of everything. Again, main building gen, even though it's lost a lot of progress, remember that it cannot physically go back now. And so the survivors can just continue to incrementally pressure it. Xeno again utilizing the bounce landing to make some distance, but I do believe that we're finally going to be a spot where Xeno has nothing to work with, is injured, has this one pallet, and he's still juking. He is still juking, and he is still forcing a TP onto this main side from Bobo. Oscar not in a good position here.
Bubo swinging at the sky out of frustration. Xeno winning that 50 may have just confirmed that they pop one of these gens. This gen gets erupted.
Dude, how did this gen was almost done? Oh my god, Call of Brian is ridiculous, dude. This gen was almost done. Last time out, a fair amount of time's been gone. Xeno he's exhausted. He doesn't have his balanced landing, and he's still able to buy time here. This is unreal. But surely you're dead now. Surely. I am so impressed with these survivors. Oscar's actually been picked up off the floor. I think if you just get the kill onto Xeno, you should be fine here if you're Bubba.
Yeah, well, I think no, I don't think they pop this in time. I mean, maybe. Maybe. It's going to be close. The TP is very quick, and he's going to have to down at least one of them.
No, they do pop it. They do pop it, actually.
They do pop. 4K0 now. Boobo was in such a good position. This was looking like a 4K2 maybe. So getting the fact that they got down to all gens completed, that is very big.
My God.
Boobo was playing out of his mind as well. Like he was juggling them so well, but Zeno on the ambulance is just too good apparently. It doesn't matter how well you juggle, the ambulance can always outrun you.
Zeno was playing like there was money on the line. It's almost like there is. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I honestly like these sweats are like they're making DBD boring nowadays. I'm gonna leave a minus rep on his profile.
Bro's like, yeah, season X of DBDLeague, $20,000 prize pool. What sweats? Look at them trying to win like
Comp
crazy
DBD Omega
amounts.
lol.
Trying to win like life-changing amounts of money. Really strong play. It was like everyone did their part, but that was like the biggest like Zeno v Bobo matchup that I was seeing. It was absolutely crazy. Zeno can do it on both, and that's like the crazy part. Of course, like yeah, most killer players can do both, but Zeno is, I think he's one of the few who is a world-class killer and a world-class survivor at the same time. Often one will sacrifice a teeny bit, not a lot, but a teeny bit in the other. Zeno's top of the game regardless. But Bobo, of course, still gets the 4K. It's a respectable result for Freddy. It is something that happens slightly more often than not, but it's still good progress regardless. We're going to send it over to the analyst desk who can break that down a little bit more for us. Take it away, boys.
I have seen anything from a 2-out to a 4K on TV this previous trial. That was an absolute roller coaster of emotion, and I was almost going to call it Bobo's best competitive Freddy performance if he had 4K this at one generator remaining, but the fact Oscar was able to pop that generator in his face last second may have turned the tide, but don't count your chickens before they hatch, because it's really difficult to judge off one match who has decided this for themselves. We might just see an incredible survival performance by Ariandel coming up, or a smooth sailing 4K1 by Zeno in the upcoming trial. Much to see, but yeah, especially talking about the perks again in this previous game, I'm starting to contemplate whether Call of Brine is just simply that much better than Rune. Personally, I'm a big fan of Rune. I understand it has the downside of being cleansed. So, Zach, this question goes to you. Is the downside or the possibility of Rune being able to be cleansed just that bad, or is Call of Brine just that strong?
I think we can sometimes veer away from the fact that it gives you information, Call of Brine, because like the regression was buffed, and Bobo's playstyle on Freddy, Sloppy and Ruin have been his like sort of feature pairing on his Freddy pick, and it's this aggressive playstyle of injuring, spreading pressure, and then waiting for someone to kind of overextend. It didn't really work too much against Elysium because we got into this 3-gen scenario, but they played it slow. But Call of Brine, I feel like it's just, first of all, you know, it's not a hex perk. It can't be cleansed. But now you have this playstyle suited to kind of pushing survivors off gens when it's got such good progression, but also the information to know when those survivors get back on the gen 2. Like, I just think it's so much, it's a much more stable and like dynamic pick. For me. And I think that's why Bobo's opted for it over the Ruin. I was thinking it from the moment we loaded into the trial, like that he's chosen that. And thinking about like how it suits his playstyle in general, it's a bit of a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, maybe because it just complements the playstyle, right? The constant TP.
It does, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and therefore it makes it better than Ruin, since you're already on the generators for your perks. But yeah, also, looking at these perks, you've already mentioned it. Sloppy, Eruption, Call of Brine. So, MetalBro, do you think Freddy is just really playing this war of attrition? Is it always just about bleeding out your opponent? Or can this killer ever be confident or convincing in chase?
Is he back yet?
Oh yeah, right.
You did
we
have,
did have
yeah,
that earlier.
yeah. So, sorry,
Okay,
ladies
Zach,
and
you
gentlemen.
take that question then.
I forgot the question. Can you repeat it?
Yes, of course. Do you
Sorry.
think Freddy's always just about this war of attrition? Is it always just about bleeding out your opponent with regression perks?
I think it's it's similar to Dredge, where you have to spread injuries, right? He's got such good mobility, and creating pressure comes from those injuries. And I feel like if you're playing like a chase killer, you can't really like do much on Freddy. He kind of has to have this mentality of really pressuring the survivors, because of course he's got really strong kit in that dream world hindrance and also the pallet breaks. Once you're injured, I feel like Freddy is so much stronger in general. And so yeah, like
Yeah.
I genuinely believe like it's meta on Freddy. It's definitely like the tactic that should be the strongest.
Yeah, and also that 4K0, a bittersweet ending for both sides, felt much like a compromise, really, like the result of World War I, who really won here. Nobody did. So 4K0, very fitting. We're already
I think it's
gliding
definitely
into...
Elysium definitely felt like they won that, I think, because that was really
We'll see.
Bobo's goal for the 4K.
We'll see in the second result. Anyway, let's head on right over into the second trial, and our casters, please take it away, guys.
Thank you very much. To the desk once more. Zeno did a lot of work in that last trial, so now it is another opportunity to do the same thing, going for a somewhat different build with the same idea. Hit and run and get your individual hooks and your individual regressions. Of course, Grim Brace going to be spectacular slowdown. Only gets better and better the more new survivors that you have hooked. I think that for Zeno, you can get away with looking for an early 3-gen here, because your win con is actually surprisingly tame. You just have to 4K with 1 gen remaining, which is... It's, oddly enough, it's a lot easier where to only defend like 1 gen than, say, like a 2. It's not that much of a difference, you know what I mean? So we can see that he's going to go for the chase in main building. Not really where you want to be taking it. It's going to be a struggle to catch up. iPick has the head-on, so oftentimes you'll see survivors do some kind of head-on shenanigans to protect each other. It's not going to be an option that they have for the time being. They're going to make their distance. iPick was able to buy a little bit of time in the main building. Are you going to be able to do the same at Shack?
Yeah, it looks like iPick's going to have a good chase. He's dropping Shack on the good position and going straight back to main. And he should... Yeah, it looks like he's going to make these windows. Unfortunately, Zeno does not have the jump rope add-on. Oh, he doesn't make it anyway.
He got tagged. Yeah, he got tagged, and that made all the difference.
Yeah, the fact that Zeno didn't have jump rope add-on, I was assuming that iPick might make that, but the hinder's just too long. It didn't even make a difference. And also, I want to talk about this build from Zeno, because holy, Deadlock, Grim, Sloppy, and Ruin. He's unfortunately lost his Ruin, but I was not expecting Deadlock and Grim Embrace. And plus, the add-on choices. I don't remember the names of the add-ons, but one
he
increases...
really likes Dream Snares. He really likes Dream Snares.
Yeah, one of them increases the travel speed of the snare, and the other increases the charge time, or decreases the charge time, sorry, of loading up your snare. So it seems like Zeno, yeah, I guess he's just not going to care about Dream Palace much. He's just going to try to play around these snares and get free tags over and over and over again.
Yeah,
and he's counting on that passive slowdown from Deadlock as well.
Yeah, I see what you mean. The add-ons inform the chase, and the perks involve the gens. So you have a pretty even split of what you want to do. However, the first gen has been completed, and you still don't have any downs or hook stages to show for it. Last time we were talking about the same thing with Bubbo, able to exert pressure in a kind of invisible sense. Didn't have to be there to make these survivors threatened, and that seems similar with 2 injuries and iPick being hounded down slowly but surely. But I don't see any pressure on someone like, say, Swatter or Hardwell, and I think right now they're just really safe from complete gens. They're so safe, actually, that Swatter's going to end up taking a hit for iPick. I mean, the Exiles and Hardwell, you know that they're doing some work in the distance. Unfortunately, it can't body block against everything. Xeno just disrespects Swatter completely. Bought a little bit of time in the chase for iPick, but obviously what you really want is Swatter actually taking the hit there.
Yeah, unfortunately, you actually can't body block versus Freddy at all because of the dream snares. Yeah, if you use the dream snares at the right timing, you will lose your hitbox, similar to how it was with the dream pallets before. With the dream pallets before, you could just hold M2 as if though you were going to place or explode one, and you would just lose your hitbox and be able to phase through Survivor, kind of like Sadako does whenever she's demanifested. So with snares, the second you launch the snare, you lose your hitbox, which means that you can just phase through the Survivor. So Swatter didn't even do anything wrong there. It's just Freddy's S-tier killer, apparently.
You know him, you love him, or you're not a big fan of him. There's all kinds of opinions on Freddy Krueger. Every time I say Freddy, I go to say Fazbear and have to stop myself. Xey's going to be stopped pretty handily at the windmill. Just enough time bought for iPick to get saved off that hook. But you know that Xeno's eyes are on this prize. Sees a Nia in the wild and thinks, I want this one. I want this one back on a hook. However, Hardwell knows this and is going to put themselves back in the line of fire. Again, you mentioned earlier that body blocking ain't exactly something that works out against a Freddy, and unless it's a situation like that where iPick's able to make enough distance where Xeno is like, I don't really got much of a choice, I'm going to have to hit Hardwell here. So iPick, safer for now, has a decent amount of distance in the main building, and now Swatter in the exact same spot again to try and body block, and in the exact same spot, he's actually at the last second able to get himself into a good position.
He gets it barely.
He is such a sacrificial lamb, Swatter. He's like, I want to die. Please just hit me.
Him and iPick are besties. You know, he's trying to look out for his homie. That's all.
Leave my Nia alone. Leave her alone. So Swatter's that kind of fella. We can see. Regardless, it's worked out well. Again, iPick hooking iPick here would be. This could kind of spell the beginning of the end here. Swatter's got plenty of hang time, and Xeno recognizes this and doesn't even bother with hooking him, which is a little odd because you do have Grim Embrace, and so I would imagine that you getting another stack of that, even if like your end game isn't getting rid of Swatter, it would still be good for you to get that value, but I suppose not.
Yeah, and then Xeno opened up this doorway, and well, that just allowed iPick to make that window so many times, and he finally goes down. But the issue is that now Xeno he may have Swatter down, he has iPick down, but iPick's under a pallet. He can't really pick this up safely, and he has no gen regression. All he has is base kicks, and he needs to 4K1 to win this. So it looks like they might be leaving Swatter. Never mind. I was about to say they might be leaving Swatter on the ground, but let's see. He is going to take the pick. They get the pallet save. So all of that time Xeno spent chasing iPick, gone. And in fact, I think all the windows are unblocked for iPick now. So he has main again for free, and Xeno's given him the infinite loop.
Yeah, God. And you can see the desperation on Xeno. He's now just going for like strange mind games with the door open, which just don't work ever. Again, I'm not sure I understand not getting the hook onto Swat. I understand how bad you want iPick dead. I do, but you cannot bring a perk like Grim Embrace and then actively just deny yourself all of its own value. You know what I mean? So Xey's able to get away with Lithe. It's a tough spot.
Yeah, it looks like he's finally he's just saying I've had enough, and I'm gonna take my Grim Embrace value. So he might. I think his only chance here is to either play for the tie or try to get all 4 stacks of Grim Embrace. But with Hardwell on a gen and Xey's healthy, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that in time. Because Grim Embrace, while at 4 stacks, is really strong, but the first 3, it's not it's not anything super impressive.
Yeah.
Hardwell
It's better than nothing,
wins the 50.
but
Oh,
it sure as
no.
hell could be something.
Zeno was in such a good position. The fact that at the start of the trial, he got a much earlier down than Bubo. Bubo got a down on Zeno at 3 minute 46, and Zeno got a down on iPick at 1 minute 49. So it was a lot faster, and it hasn't seemed to help him at all because iPick was just hugging main the entire time, like a little rat that every killer main is going to complain about.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much progress. There's so much progress on this Gem by the House. That's crazy. Oh goodness. Zeno, what can you do here? You can hold Hardwell here for a while. Hardwell is also not really the target that you want, but I mean, it would be another Grim Embrace stack, which is better than nothing. But what can you even do here? Like again, there's no respect from the survivors. They're doing gens like right in front of you. You do not hold any space. Excise is down. Okay, Hardwell's down 2. There was an attempt to reset that Zeno ended up sussing out. Excise gonna be eating a hook for his troubles there in the basement as well, specifically. But remember, Excise also not really a mark. It's a Grim Embrace. It's puts you a little closer to the 4th stack, the one which has in the past in some sets I've seen turn the game around, but certainly not on the 3rd hook.
Yeah, like now, like you have to keep in mind he may have a Grim Embrace and he has Deadlock, but that doesn't matter on the last gen. And the survivors, they seem to have a lot of resources left. iPick just chased him so long on main that there was not a whole lot of pallets used. So they still have resources, and he has no regression other than base kicks, which, as all of us cringe killer mains know, it does nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just be giving the gen a little kiss at that point. It's not particularly... It's not what you want in the slightest. This gen's been in more progress. Every survivor's injured. You rely on a survivor collapse right now for Zeno, and you need to inform that. You need to try and make them panic, but they're staying cool under pressure. They're dropping pallets on your head. They're looping you in a manner most unbecoming, and you are kind of dead here. There's nothing that you can do. I truly think there's nothing that Zeno can do to prevent outs here.
Yeah, he doesn't have the time to even commit for his 4th Grim stack. Hardwell got a nice stun on there, unzoned himself. This is pretty much just a losing battle for Zeno. He can maybe 4K0, but I don't think that stopping these gens is an option, especially since the fact that he doesn't have his teleport back yet. It seems that Ariandel are going to play this super safe and slow, and they're going to reset rather than just send it for the gens, because that's really the only chance Zeno has. And in fact, Swatter he's about 3/4 of the way bled out, so he might just play for the bleed out on Swatter and go for the 4th Grim stack on Hardwell.
Yeah, I mean, Excise Hubba, I see what they're doing. Like, I understand they're playing patient. They want to play patient. They want to play safe. They don't. When the stakes are this high, I don't think they want to be making, ludicrous plays like trying to bully out gens while everyone's injured, right? But that reset in main, it was just dead time. With Sloppy, obviously that healing progress isn't going to remain for either of them. Hardwell didn't even get healed, goes down anyway. Excise sure as hell didn't get healed. So that is just wasted 30 seconds from 2 survivors that could have been elsewhere. So it's you have to play even more patient now, and I think that if you play perfectly, the survivors are still fine. But there is still a lot of room for error here, just because that's how Freddy's done the work. The work of Freddy is getting every survivor in a position where they're injured, they're vulnerable, but like actually closing it out, that can be very explosive and simple. However, I don't think Zeno actually recognizes how done the Gallows gen is.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I think he was going for a head-on there, but forcing grab either way, it literally doesn't even matter because Swatter pops the gen, and
There it is.
X-Side's been doing nothing this entire time, so I'm assuming that he's on a gate already,
Yeah.
or at least near one. And Hardwell's also on one, so literally anyone out is a win for Ariandel, and
They forced the
X-Side's
grab to
just
make
forced
it
the grab.
happen.
So it looks like a clean 3-0, actually.
Wow. Damn.
No,
Okay.
I said this at the start.
And recall that Ariandel, they qualified here through our like last chance qualifiers, right? They were fourth coming into this. They were so, despite being the lower ranked team, Invictus were kind of so scared of the prospect. I mean, maybe not scared, but like they were so worried at the prospect of Ariandel and thought they were so strong that they actually chose to pick third place. They picked a team above Ariandel in the standings because they had been so thoroughly convinced that Ariandel had leveled up their game. And clearly via this performance they have. How are you 3-0ing Elysium? That is crazy.
Like, one Bubo killer popped off. Like his Plague side, his Freddy, literally everything about him, like he just popped off. And then the survivor side, like they were in a bad position at the start of this trial, but then iPick just had an absolutely amazing chase on main building. I think right when Zeno went for the hit on Hardwell, when Hardwell on the Claude was tanking for iPick on main building, he had a chance to actually get iPick there, but instead he just took the tag and then iPick made distance. I think from that point on he just lost because iPick's chase was just perfect. It was pretty much flawless.
Yeah. Goodness me, goodness me. What more could you want? So that is going to be all from me and Flightless. You've done a double shift today, Flightless. You must be a tired
Yeah.
young man.
Oh no! Give me, make the other 2 best of 5 happen today. I'll cast both of them. I don't mind.
Hey,
I'm here, I'm ready.
don't worry. Tomorrow's stream we could see 20 sets being played. That's a prospect and a half. Hell yeah.
I hope so.
Yes, that'd be a hell of a thing. Thank you, Flightless, for holding it down today. We're going to send it back over to the desk, who are going to wrap up their thoughts on the final game, briefly tell us a little bit about how tomorrow might play out, and close out the stream. Thank you for sticking with me, Egdar, and Flightless. Thank you to the desk. We're going to go back to them for one last time.
See you guys.
Thank you so much, Egdar and Flightless, for your casting today. And nobody else in the Twitch chat is seeing it, but I'm currently looking at a Kirby and a cat casting together, so that's also an absolute joy in my heart. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. And let's get back to Ariandel and Elysium here, because wow, I did not see that coming, and I don't think anyone else did. Zach, would you have ever guessed that we were going to go over 3-0?
No, I've seen like really strong performances from both sides, so it was really hard to tell. I would have liked to have been a bit closer. I mean, even for both sets, like both matches, not just Elysium Ariandel. But yeah, like the casters pointed out, this is a 4th place team who were coming in kind of like fighting for their position, and now they're facing like potentially with this performance and kind of how it's looking, maybe after tomorrow going to grand finals. Like that was a really strong performance from Ariandel. So I mean, none of these teams are out of it yet, of course, because of the format, like you've explained a few times. And I'm
going to again.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, go ahead.
Not just yet. We just still need to finish on the game.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I was also really surprised. Or I thought it was quite humorous even. And what's it called? When people get injured and it's funny. Know what I mean? Whatever.
I don't know.
Slapstick.
Oh,
That's
okay.
when Zeno opened up the doorway and iPick took full advantage of it, almost ran it like an infinite. That was ridiculous. Also, the fact they cleansed Zeno's ruin at the start of the game, I feel like then and there, Zeno's strategy fell apart.
Yeah, so I like Ruin. I felt like that build was slow down, but as soon as the survivors basically spawned on his totem, cleansed it, like it was
Yeah.
just a matter of time. Like iPick, like Deadlock saved him so hard when iPick was running him for so long on main. Like it slowed down the gens so much that like it was the only. I felt like Deadlock was the only reason there why Xeno even got remotely close after that iPick main situation. The body blocks. I mean, even though he faced through on chase, like the body blocks, the defense from Swatter, like that pairing, I swear, like I just felt like that made the game for me. Like those two chasing together and then the other two survivors. Like there was no early elimination. It was all 4 survivors alive. But basically the whole trial. The Deadlock saving Xeno and giving him time, but just the altruism coming in, like I just have to give it to Ariandel. It was just a really good performance.
Was really creative too. I have written down in my notes, my god, that beautiful gameplay, that camaraderie from Swatter taking its for iPick. I mean, that was practically textbook. It reminded me a bit of when you see, especially with Doctor, when normally, of course, you shock, then you can't use the window or pallet, etc. So you try to make a loop around a nearby tile, and that is what they did to get Swatter into position, because something happened that I didn't even know what was possible. Did you also see him walk through Swatter over and over using his ability?
Yeah. The casters picked up on it too. Like the collision is lost when you have any form of like power usage on Freddy. Supposedly, not even like like even just holding. I think the old Freddy you could just hold M2 and just go through survivors. But now like the dream snare, the scare, like the screaming from the survivor, like you just phase through them. Plus the hindrance as well. Like there was a nice lineup on the dream snare because in most cases he got Swatter and iPick in the same dream snare.
Yeah.
So Swatter couldn't sustain the body block because he was slow. So I mean, Xeno just walked through him because he was faster, and then iPick was slowed down as well. So it was kind of like this. And that one, the factor that the collision isn't there, plus the hindrance, yeah, like is interesting. It could have been a lot worse though. If that kind of mechanic isn't there, like it's even worse for Xeno.
It was absolutely brutal how reactive Ariandel were, how creative, and how well they took advantage of the terrain around them, always being able to put themselves into a position where they could circumvent that phase through Survivor that is very Shape and Ghostface-esque whenever they stalk. And they were able to find an answer in every situation. I think just taking wonderful advantage of main building again.